Friends, today I would like to talk to you about death. Linguistically, death is very simple. It is the end of life, right? Physically, death is the inevitable end of any ordered system that is in disorder. Why does it happen? Physically, it happens. It is inevitable only because it is extremely probable, right? The second law of thermodynamics, the law that systems move towards a state of disorder, only happens because it is exceedingly much more probable for the system to move in that direction. So for a very complex system, the probability becomes so high that it becomes almost inevitable that the system would move to a state of higher disorder or higher chaos. Chemically, death is the attainment of equilibrium, right? The human body or any living system only survives as long as it can resist that equilibrium through its own life processes. And death happens when it is unable to resist the equilibrium. When the equilibrium arrives for that living system, it is death. Ecologically, death is just the recycle of nutrients, just the recycling of resources and generation of more new life. So ecologically, it is not a sad thing because death contains the seeds for more new life. Philosophically, death can be many things, but one of the things that it is that it is an event which creates the idea of time. You see, there would be no meaning of time if death doesn't happen. Even the time scales that are meaningful to us are comparable with human lifespans. Much bigger and much smaller time scales, we cannot comprehend them. We don't understand them. We understand years, we understand decades, we understand centuries, we understand a little bit of millennia. But more than that, tens of thousands of years, millions of years, billions of years, we have absolutely no idea what the hell we are talking about. Mathematically, we may arrive at those numbers, that is a different thing. But those are just mathematical artifacts, mathematical structures that do not have no existence in reality for us, because they do not correspond to, they are not comparable with our experience. Alan Watts used to say, a great Vedantic philosopher, he used to say that all existence is only in relation to human experience. And Alan Watts was not the first person to say this. Even Descartes' cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, is also refers to the same thing. And there were many other philosophers who have arrived at this conclusion that whatever existence is there is only in relation to the human experience. Without human experience, the existence itself, is there or not there, does not mean much. The famous question that if a tree falls in the forest, does it make noise if there is nobody to listen to it? Alludes to this philosophical conundrum. So, philosophically, the time becomes an idea, a thing, a meaningful entity only because our lives are limited. If our lives were not limited, we would not understand time. No. You may say that we would still be able to observe changes around us and still be able to witness the passage of time. But, given infinite time, everything would be cyclic, right? Clocks we have made cyclic deliberately, but everything else in nature or everything around us, the crops or trees or if we have a or anything else, if it has reached a particular state and it is moving towards a different state, if you try to measure time with that, given enough time, it would again come back to this state. No, given millions of years, billions of years, trillions of years, every state will be repeatedly reached, however improbable it is. Even if something is very improbable, if there is infinite time, it is most certain to be reached. So, there will be no direction to the arrow of time without death. So, we may see some changes around us, but everything would be cyclical, and the meaning of the passage of time or the arrow of time will cease to exist. Right? So, philosophically, death is what gives meaning to time or creates the idea of time. Biologically, death is another interesting phenomenon. Biologically, living systems exist at different levels, right? There is the cellular level of an individual cell, then cells group to form tissues, tissues make organs, organs make organ systems, collection of organ systems makes an individual, like me, like you, and collection of individuals makes a species. The hierarchy doesn't stop at the level of individual. It goes on much further. Collection of species makes we can define a lesser hierarchy. It can make an ecological system, or eventually at the final level is the grand tree of genetic information, right? All species are branches of that tree of genetic information, and that tree on Earth is 4.5 billion years old, 4 billion years old, and that tree is spawning new branches since then, and it is surviving, right? We individuals are just the tiniest of twigs or buds on that tree. So, biologically, death is a minor, negligible event for the higher system, right? For example, cellular death does not matter to us. I have An estimate says that human body has about 30 trillion cells, 30 trillion human cells, and I lose many billions every day, many billions die off, but it does not matter to me in the slightest. It is in fact a positive thing, a good thing for me. It renews my skin, my tissues, and it keeps them working well. So for my survival, it is necessary that those cells die, the tissues die, right? Similarly, the tree of genetic information, for its survival, it has learned that it is good for individuals to die, because it has learned that its survival is much better ensured by new individuals budding off rather than existing individuals surviving endlessly. That is why it has programmed death into our genetic code. There are multiple theories of senescence. Senescence is the science of aging and death, and many theories relate to the natural degradation of DNA, free radicals caused due to environmental pollutants, due to genetic errors, and so on. But I don't subscribe to those theories. To me, how can it be not programmed? I mean, it is a programmed part of the DNA. It is a programmed part of our genetic code, because you see, I will give you an example. You see, the human body or most bodies, most living systems can spawn off completely fresh new living systems. For example, a human body can spawn off a new baby, a completely fresh new baby with a new brain, with a new knee joint, with a new liver, right, with a new pair of kidneys. And yet it refuses to repair if some of mine get injured, right? That is clearly a genetic programming that the tree of life has come up with. It says that a bird can only spawn off new birds, otherwise it dies away. Whether or not it spawns new birds, it dies away, and only the new birds can then spawn new birds, and that is the way that the tree survives. It does not value individual lives, just as we do not value individual cells. Death is a major event for us because of how our minds, our social structures, our relationships are made, also because of our thought processes that have the feeling of ego, of self in them. That is why it is such a big event for us. For the tree of life, it is a minor event, a negligible thing, and even a necessary thing, that it has learned that for it to survive, it is better to keep on trying new combinations, because only new combinations can potentially adapt to the changes in environment, to the changes in the conditions. The existing organism cannot keep on adapting to the new things. So the tree of life has learned that keeping on trying new combinations is the way for its survival, and that is what it does, right? It doesn't care about individuals. If you want, you can bud off new ones, or you can die away. Even the death of a species is a death of but one branch of the tree, and that is a bigger event than the death of the individual, but that is also does not greatly affect the survival of tree of life. So this is all I wanted to share. Thank you.